유형 연습.
Section 1. You will hear a conversation between a tour company agent and a traveller discussing tour details. First, you have some time to read through questions 1 to 4. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
Thank you for contacting Sunwave Tours. How may I help you?
Hi, my name is Alex. I'm here in Melbourne for work until this Saturday, and I'd like to go on the city tour that I saw advertised in your flyer. I'm available on either Wednesday or Thursday.
We can certainly accommodate that. What in our city are you interested in seeing?
Well, I am curious about both historical sites and contemporary culture, but I'm also interested in old architecture. So I do want to tour some art galleries more than anything. I heard that there's a national art gallery in the city.
Yes, there is. I'd actually recommend our Top Spots tour. It starts just in front of our office on Elizabeth Street and concludes at the National Gallery of Victoria, and there are lots of places to get lunch in that area afterward.
That really sounds ideal. And what does the tour cost?
Let's see. It's $55 for the half day. That runs for a total of about 5 hours. Or there is a full day tour that costs a bit more. It includes a 7-hour tour with a free lunch.
Seems reasonable enough. What time does the half-day tour start?
It's from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. this Wednesday. The guide for this tour likes to start earlier in the day so that you can see the sunlight shines on the major landmarks at optimal times.
That might be a bit too early for me.
Then you might like the Major Views full-day tour this Thursday. That tour also stops by the National Gallery of Victoria but takes you up to popular viewing spots where you can see the city's most famous landmarks. It starts in the morning, too, at 11 a.m., but the bulk of it takes place in the afternoon, ending at 6 p.m. The guide will also take you to a nice restaurant for lunch.
Oh, all right. I reckon the Thursday tour will suit me best. What is the cost for that tour?
It's $70 per person, but we have a special this month. You get $25 off if you make at least 2 bookings.
That seems reasonable. However, I'm the only person, so please book just one spot for me.
Great. What's your name and phone number?
Alex Fenway. Fenway. And my mobile number is 555-671-920.
Thank you, Alex. On the day of the tour, there will be a guide at Central Station to meet you. The guide will be holding a large sign and wearing a T-shirt with Sunwave Tours printed on it.
Great. Thanks for all your help.
You now have 15 seconds to check your answers.
Section 2. You will hear a radio broadcast by an announcer about making purchases overseas. First, you have some time to read through questions 5 to 7. Now listen carefully and answer questions 5 to 7.
Good afternoon. Thanks for listening to today's broadcast of Smart Shopping. As we head into the winter season, many of you will be travelling out of the country for your annual holidays. And while away, you're likely to buy some souvenirs to bring back with you. On today's programme, I'm going to give you some tips on what to be cautious of and how to make good purchases while abroad. So, my first point is about payment. Tourists from the UK are mainly accustomed to pulling out a credit card and charging just about everything. Well, that's not such a good idea when overseas for two reasons. First, there is a lot of credit card fraud. Credit card usage is simply not secure. Secondly, the seller will have to charge you anywhere between 3 and 5% more in credit card fees that they must pay to credit card companies. So use cash if at all possible. And that brings me to my next word of advice. Check the exchange rates offered for your currency before making payments by cash or even credit cards. Some establishments offer poor rates, so it is better to exchange your money in a bank, which ensures better rates, and use local currency in those cases. Also, it is always a good idea to get tax refunds for your purchases when possible, as it can save you a lot of money. International travellers are often eligible for these refunds in many locations and won't have to pay taxes on the items they buy. Find out ahead of time what the minimum purchase amount is and what types of purchases are eligible. And don't forget to claim your refunds at your point of departure before checking in, as you may have to show the purchases to agents along with original receipts. But there are many items that you are not permitted to transport on planes or trains, so I also want to cover.
You now have 15 seconds to check your answers.
Section 2. You will hear a tour guide talking to some visitors about a national monument. First, you have some time to read through questions 8 to 11. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 8 to 11.
Welcome everyone to Devil's Tower National Monument. Not only can you view the famous Devil's Tower rock formation, but there are lots of great routes for hiking and rock climbing here in the park. If you are interested, you can ask about those activities at our climbing office. You'll find it conveniently located between our visitor center and gift shop. Now, Devil's Tower is situated in the picturesque Black Hills here in Wyoming. The formation itself is very imposing, standing at 867 feet, or 265 meters, from the base to the summit. To local Native Americans, this is a significant site. Because of that and its striking beauty, Devil's Tower was made an official national monument over a century ago. Since then, it has become a popular destination amongst rock climbers. So how did the rock formation get its unusual name? You might think it's because it can be dangerous to hike up or climb. Actually, explorer Colonel Richard Irving led an expedition to the area in 1875. His interpreter is said to have made an error translating the native language and said the unusual formation was named Bad God's Tower. Irving took that to mean the Devil's Tower. But many native people say that the formation was probably originally called Bear Tower or Bear's Lodge. Anyway, what are we all going to see and do at the park today? First, we are going to take a short hike up to a ridge that will offer you panoramic views of the tower and the park. The route we will be taking is called the Joyner Ridge Trail, and it is a marked loop that's 1.5 miles long. Just a few safety reminders before we head out on the trail. First, please watch your step during our hike as the trail we are taking is unpaved. Also, please be reminded that food is only permitted in specified areas that are marked with signs, and it is vital that you do not feed animals you may encounter in the park. After our hike, I'll take you to the visitor center where you can check out our displays and browse through souvenirs in our gift shop. Okay, so could you all please come this way?
You now have 15 seconds to check your answers.
Section 3. You will hear a conversation between two students about studying abroad in Singapore. First, you have some time to read through questions 12 to 16. Now listen carefully and answer questions 12 to 16.
Hello, Laura. Do you have a minute?
Sure, John. What's up?
I've been considering enrolling in the study abroad program in Singapore for psychology that you completed last term, but I'm still unsure of some things.
What things in particular?
Well, I couldn't find much information on the application process. What was it like?
Actually, it was a bit too complicated. There are a lot of steps to complete.
I see. And what did you think about the lectures there?
They were excellent. I found all of them very informative and insightful.
And the lecturers themselves?
They are all experts in their areas. A few of them are even published authors, especially the professor of my psychometrics course. He was terrific. It was because of him that I chose the topic of psychometrics for my senior year thesis.
Oh, that sounds rather challenging.
Not at all. I was intimidated by the subject at first, but I didn't find it overly complicated as it was just an introductory course. I definitely recommend taking that one.
I see. Which other courses do you recommend?
I know that you're focusing your studies on counselling, so you should take the adult counselling course that is offered as well.
Yes, that would be good. Were there quite a lot of assignments or requirements for each class?
A fair amount, but instead of a long final paper, most of the classes I took concluded with a final test.
That sounds tough. Are there many differences between studying there and in the UK?
Definitely. The type of psychology they teach is very similar to statistics. Lots of numbers, data and stuff like that. Far less of the theory and discussion we had in the UK and more science-based work, so it's a different sort of challenge, but it appealed to me. That's why I chose psychometrics.
Oh, that makes sense. I'm actually hoping to take some data analysis courses if I take part in the program too. It would help with my minor in psycholinguistics.
Speaking of which, I have some information about data courses in Singapore. Let's head to...
You now have 15 seconds to check your answers.
Section 3. You will hear a student talking to a professor about a car technology competition. First, you have some time to read through questions 17 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 17 to 20.
Professor Brown, I'm hoping to participate in the National Car Technology Competition.
Certainly, Alice. The idea submission deadline is next Thursday, though. Do you already have an idea in mind?
Oh, I have a couple of ideas. One is for a biometric access system. This would allow only particular users to unlock, start, and drive the vehicle by using sensors.
Interesting idea. How would that work exactly?
Well, it would require the use of a scanner to access the vehicle and interior sensors to scan the eyes of drivers for retinal confirmation. Drivers would place a thumb on the outdoor scanner to unlock the vehicle, and the retinal sensor would allow them to turn on the ignition.
That might be complicated. Do you have any ideas on how that sensor might work?
I was thinking about embedding it in the rear-view mirror. The driver would simply look into the mirror, and the sensor would scan their retina. If the person is authorized to use the vehicle, the ignition would automatically turn on.
Sounds impressive. I think you should go ahead with that idea. Is there anything else you need help with?
Well, actually, the entrance fee is higher than I expected.
Oh, there actually is a sponsorship from the university that you may be eligible for, and as far as I know, you'll be able to do that. Then the cost of $200 for entering the competition would be lifted. And of course, you'd be able to use materials for the project at our lab facilities. You can pick up a form to apply for the sponsorship at the academic office.
Excellent. And what is required for the application?
You'll first need to submit a proposal, no longer than 1 page, to the Dean of the Engineering College by this Wednesday. If he thinks your idea is intriguing enough, then he'll meet with you in person to discuss some additional details about it.
All right. I suppose I ought to get started on typing my proposal then.
Oh, and for your reference, the proposal must include a rough design or sketch of your idea. Otherwise, the Dean won't accept it. It's a very particular requirement, but it's because he prefers to look at papers with graphical information. The proposal can be structured as you like and in any file format, and you can list references any way you want as well.
That's exactly what I was going to inquire about next. Actually, would you have some time to meet either today or Tuesday to provide me with some guidance on how to draft the proposal?
Certainly. I'll be available at my office after 4 p.m. this Tuesday. See you then?
Great. I'll come by your office at 4:30 on Tuesday. Thanks.
You now have 15 seconds to check your answers.
Section 4. You will hear a lecture by a dietary expert about the ways in which people can reduce their sugar intake. First, you have some time to read through questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
So, as we discussed last time, sugar is the culprit for a variety of ailments. Not only is it an addictive substance, but it is a direct cause for diabetes, the rates of which have never been higher. In addition to that, it also contributes to heart disease, obesity, and mood disorders. And those health issues are also rising at an alarming rate. The problem is that people are consuming more sugar than we even realize. So, how can we reduce our intake and avoid a variety of health issues? Well, first, it is important to read through ingredients on manufactured products and be aware that sugar has different names: sucrose, glucose, and fructose, just to name a few. So when advising patients, it is naturally best to tell them to avoid products with added sugar and use sweeteners that are as natural as possible and stay away from processed sugar. Something like honey provides sweetness and is better for digestion than refined sugar, as it allows nutrients to be absorbed more easily. It also contains fewer empty calories than sugar. If the taste of honey is too diverse and processed sugar is preferred, then it is better to use it in its raw state, such as brown sugar, while common white table sugar should be eliminated. and it's also important to not drink sugars. People don't realize the enormous sugar content in a soft drink, and even fruit juices have a very high concentration of sugar as well as high caloric intake. Water, of course, is the number one fluid we should consume. But I believe herbal teas are another great option because they give you some flavor and they can offer extra vitamins that are good for us. Another thing to avoid is manufactured food products that are labeled fat-free. Often, to make up for the flavor from missing fat, sugar is added. Just for one example, it is better to use real cream in your coffee rather than a fat-free substitute. And likewise, urge people to avoid products that are said to be sugar-free as they usually contain chemical sugar substitutes which can actually be more harmful than processed sugar. Most dietary experts agree that the best thing people can do is get the sweetness they want through natural sources rather than sweets or sugarless alternatives with chemicals. Get it through fruits and vegetables above all. They are a much better source of natural sugar, and they also contain essential vitamins your body needs. That's the best way to get the sweetness your appetite may want. But you can also eat yogurt and whole wheat products.
You now have 15 seconds to check your answers.